He said it was mercy. The coroner said it was murder. The call came in just before sunset. A man seen striking a woman beside a white van on a park access road. Minutes later, an officer's mic caught her voice, small, shaking, apologizing for everything. He stood beside her, calm as stone. Two set out to chase a dream. One came back with a story that doesn't fit the facts. My daughter texts me every morning. That's how Denise tells it. A coffee emoji. A pin on a map. A sunflower she's used since high school. Then one day the messages changed. Same phone. Not the same daughter. A nickname no one in our family uses. A tone that misses the beat. If you've read someone's words for years, you know when they don't land in your bones. Here's the first crack in the picture-perfect feed. We compared 5 everyday texts to that one outlier. Her rhythm is tight, affectionate, a certain ellipsis when she's rushing, a heart when she's done. The odd message swaps in a formal name and a clipped cadence she never uses. It's not just strange, it's wrong. And it arrived exactly when her voice was about to go quiet. The van life looked golden at first. 2 young creators, a converted van, national parks stitched together like a quilt. They promised to show everything. The mistakes, the mess, the mornings where you can't get the stove to light. Off camera, small arguments got louder. The kind of control that wears a smile. It's safer if I hold your ID. Share your location so I don't worry. Care dressed up with rules. Then came the fork in the road. A witness sees a man shove a woman. Bodycam shows her crying and taking the blame. Him, steady and reasonable. The statute on domestic violence is clear about evidence. The decision on the roadside wasn't. They were separated for the night. No citation. No arrest. The easiest call in a moment. The hardest consequences after. Listen to the space between their words. I'm sorry I'm difficult, she says, trying to be small. I was only trying to calm her down, he says, measured and controlled. Calm isn't the same as safe. Composure isn't the same as truth. When you watch the footage with the law in hand, you can feel how close they were to a different outcome. The next days fracture into details that don't add up. A claim of no service in a place where signal flickers in and out. A best friend's birthday that never gets a call. A stranger's account of a lone man offering cash for a short ride, then panicking about the destination. And somewhere in the middle of that window, the van appears on a camper's GoPro like a ghost, parked in the wrong kind of quiet. This is where the story stops being about a feed and starts being about a pattern. We'll follow the odd text that didn't sound like her. We'll walk through the traffic stop with the law itself. We'll map the hitchhiker detour and the frame-by-frame clue that narrowed a search from miles to meters. And we will set his notebook narrative next to the coroner's findings, so you can see the gap for yourself. If you think you'd spot the signs, this is your test. It starts with a mother who knows her child's voice on a screen and hears it vanish mid-sentence. It starts with a single message that doesn't fit. It starts with the truth hiding in plain sight, waiting for anyone to say, "That's not her." 2 set out. 1 returned. And the first proof is already in our hands. They called it a digital pilgrimage. 2 kids from different coasts, stitching together a summer of firsts with a second-hand camera and a van they rebuilt bolt by bolt. Amara Bennett, 22, had a gift for making strangers feel like friends. "Find your light, even out here," she'd say at the end of each video. Half joke, half prayer. The comments piled up like postcards from people who wanted to believe the road could fix you. Malik Carter knew how to look at a problem and find a tool. He could make a rattling cabinet quiet, a bulky burner burn blue. On camera, he played the easygoing foil, teasing, tender, low-key. Off camera, he preferred to be the one holding the map, the keys, the plan. He'd frame it as care. "Let me handle it. I'll drive the gnarly parts. Share your location. It calms me down." Rules disguised as reassurance. They met as teenagers and reconnected when the world cracked and everyone was looking for a simpler life. Amara picked up gig work, lattes and late-night edits, to buy time and parts. Malik took extra shifts, then quit to focus on the van. They stripped the interior to metal, laid foam and plywood, argued over paint swatches, celebrated when the solar came alive and the inverter hummed. It felt like building a future you could steer. The channel started small. A dozen views. Then a few hundred. A comment from a black hiker saying, "I've never seen us out here like this." Amara leaned into it. How to pick campsites. How to set a boundary with a stranger. What to pack when you're a woman moving through spaces that don't always expect you. She was careful, sunny, and specific. The audience grew. With growth came pressure. Keep posting, keep smiling, keep the story sweet. In between the bright cuts, there were the seams. Tasha, Amara's closest friend, remembers a night out that never was because Amara couldn't find her ID. She found it later at Malik's place. He called it a misunderstanding, then a joke, then a worry about crowded bars and safety. "I don't want people to say I'm calling him a manipulator," Tasha says. "But that's when I started watching the small things." It's easy to mistake vigilance for love when you're living on wheels. The road rewards planning. The road punishes mistakes. Malik's habits, double-checking locks, counting miles to the next gas station, holding the only spare key, made sense until they didn't. Amara joked about her little OCD when clutter spiked her anxiety. She apologized when the camera lens caught her snapping. She apologized even when she was the one in tears. They set the route with a marker across a paper map. Utah's red rock, Wyoming's jagged blue, Montana's high meadows. They aimed for long, free days and cheap campgrounds. Work for stay farms when money thinned. On the way out of Detroit, they stopped to hug Denise and roam in a driveway that still smelled like cut grass. "Text me when you hit the state line," Denise said. "Every time," Amara promised. For a while she did. By late July, the van life looked exactly like the feed. Chocolate-colored canyons, river water shining like glass, cheap tacos in a parking lot with 5 other rigs, and a borrowed guitar. They filmed the morning yoga, the stumbles and laughs, the nights where they found a campsite at the last possible turn. The algorithm liked consistency. The heart liked safety. Amara kept both plates spinning until they wobbled. You can hear it if you listen closely to the audio no one was meant to analyze. A sigh when the engine won't catch on the first try. A clipped edge in Malik's voice when they're lost and the sun is dropping. A quick apology from Amara for a mess that isn't hers. The pressure builds quietly on the road. It has nowhere to go but into the small space 2 people share. When the first real argument blows into something bigger, it's over something ordinary, clutter, time, a missed turn, a camera battery that died. Later, in front of an officer's lens, Amara will call herself difficult and mean. It's an old story. A woman shrinks to keep the peace. A man looks calm because he's got control. Calm looks like love on a screen. Control looks like care until you need air. They would post an 8-minute compilation that was all sunshine right after this. They would call it Our First Month on the Road and laugh at how they couldn't keep chocolate from melting in Utah in July. The laughter is real. So is the undertow pulling at their ankles. The veneer is doing its job, even for them. They can almost believe it. Almost. Until the day the route bends toward the arches and a stranger with a phone sees what the feed doesn't show. Until the police lights flicker in the rear view and the summer that was supposed to reveal who they are makes a different kind of truth impossible to hide. That's where the story turns. That's where the picture-perfect life meets the law. The call hits dispatch in late afternoon, the kind of heat that makes asphalt shimmer. A man reports seeing a shove, maybe a slap. 2 figures by a white van with Florida plates near a park access road. He gives what he can. Direction of travel. A partial plate. The way the woman stumbled as she pulled away. He does the thing most people tell themselves they'll do but don't. He dials anyway. Minutes later, red and blue wash over scrub and sandstone. The van drifts a little wide, taps a curb, eases to a stop. The officer walks up on the passenger side. Amara's face is blotchy. Her voice small and rushing. "I'm sorry, I've got bad OCD. I was cleaning. I'm sorry if I was being mean." She's explaining before anyone asks. It's the sound of someone trying to make herself smaller, so the moment doesn't get bigger. On the other side, Malik is all even tones and straight lines. "We've been arguing, sir. I just needed space. I locked the van and walked away." He shows his hands. Uses the officer's name when he gets it, calls Amara my girl, and she gets worked up sometimes. He is precise without being defensive. He looks like the version of himself the camera loves. Body mic captures everything in that flat, unkind way electronics have. The officer asks Amara what happened. She admits to slapping him. Says she was trying to get his attention. Says he grabbed her face, but didn't hit her. Says she doesn't want him to get in trouble. When you listen closely, you can hear the learned reflex. Make it sound smaller. Make it sound mutual. Make it sound like you started it. It is a script a lot of women know by heart. Here's the part most viewers never get to see in real time. The law that's supposed to guide moments like this. In Utah, the domestic violence statute doesn't require officers to prove intent before taking action. If there's evidence of an assault, visible marks, corroborating witness statements, admissions, an arrest or citation is not optional. It's the expected step to prevent escalation. That's the statute. What happens next drifts from it. They separate the two. They note scratches on Malik's face and arm. They don't take photos of Amara's marks. They don't call back the original reporting party, who said he saw the man hit the woman. Another witness on scene describes seeing a shove, but can't say more. The questions point toward whether Amara intended to cause pain when she slapped him. It's a subtle slide, from evidence to intent, from what is to what someone meant. Captains with cool heads and time to review will later call this out. An independent review will say there was probable cause for an arrest or citation. It will point to missed steps, the lack of photographs, the failure to contact the first caller, the reliance on a narrow reading of intent. It will recommend training on the statute, on trauma responses, on how calm and culpability aren't synonyms. At the roadside, the decision feels merciful. Give them a break. Separate them for the night. The officer hands Amara the keys and tells her to stay with the van. He gives Malik a ride to a motel as the assumed victim. They both thank him. They are polite, grateful, relieved. It is easy to believe that cooling off will cool down the pattern underneath. Listen again to the words Amara uses. I'm sorry I'm so mean. I was trying to calm him down. I just get anxious. These are not confessions of a criminal. They are the vocabulary of a person who has learned to make herself responsible for the weather in someone else's head. Dr. Moore will tell you that in coercive control, the person who has been minimizing for months will keep minimizing when a badge appears. It's not lying. It's survival. And watch Malik's composure. The clean narrative. The choice of neutral, authority-friendly language. We both got worked up. I locked the van. We just needed space. Calm can be real. Calm can also be what control looks like when it's on its best behavior. That's why the law leans on evidence and procedures, photos, witness callbacks, mandatory steps that don't depend on who tells the smoother story. There's no villain in a uniform here, just a human moment filled with heat and hurry. A roadside calculus. What diffuses danger right now? The heartbreak is that danger doesn't always live in the moment you can see. It lives in the pattern. You can't if you don't go looking for it. That day, Mercy wins the coin toss. The van stays. The motel door closes. The summer turns, quietly, toward an edge. The morning after the stop, Denise wakes to an ordinary ping. A photo of a trail map. A quick note about heading north toward higher, cooler air. It sounds like her daughter, brisk, upbeat, a little emoji tucked at the end. Through late morning and midday, the check-ins keep their rhythm. Small things. Lunch was cheap. The creek was loud. A video will go up tonight if the Wi-Fi holds. Then the cadence slips. Late that afternoon, a message arrives that sits wrong in the hand. It mentions a relative by a first name Amara never uses. Not once in years of texts. The phrasing is clipped, the warmth missing in the margins. Denise reads it twice, then a third time. It's the sort of difference you can't diagram, only feel. The angle of a voice you've known since it first learned words, now leaning in a direction it never leans. We pulled 5 everyday messages from the week before and laid them beside the outlier. Amara tends to double the exclamation point when she's excited. She stretches vowels when she's teasing. She writes Granddad, not the formal name that pops up out of nowhere. She uses 3 dots when she's hurrying, a tiny heart when she's done. The odd text drops all of that. It lands like it was written by someone trying to sound like her instead of someone who is her. The next day brings another message, even shorter, no service where we are. It's a plausible line in the mountains. Anyone who's driven those roads knows the map of dead zones by heart. But when you overlay cell coverage maps with the route they said they were taking, the claim doesn't sit neatly. Signal flickers in and out there. You can go hours without a bar, then suddenly catch two. It's not proof, but it's friction. Friction matters. Tasha's birthday falls right inside that window. 4 or 5 years, Amara has never missed it. A call. A voice note. A dumb meme at midnight. This year, the day unspools without a word. Tasha refreshes her messages so many times the screen gets greasy. She tells herself the same story anyone would. Bad signal, busy day. They'll laugh about it tomorrow. The laugh doesn't come. Little failures start stacking up. A read receipt goes missing. A location share quietly switches off. A YouTube upload that should auto-post at night doesn't. Alone, each is nothing. Together, they sound like a voice moving through static, and then falling completely silent. Denise starts making calls she never thought she'd have to make. She calls the precinct. She gets routed to non-emergency. She explains that her daughter isn't just traveling. She's traveling with a partner after a police stop, where things were not okay. She hears the line everyone hears. She's an adult. Maybe she wants space. Service is bad out there. Denise is polite because that's how you get help, but she refuses to be deterred. She calls again. She calls the jurisdiction where the stop happened. She leaves her number with the ranger station 2 states away. By the end of that week, Denise and Rome drive to their local precinct in person. They carry printed screenshots, dates, times, the out-of-character text circled in red ink. They do what families do when the system needs proof a feeling is real. They become researchers. The report gets filed. In the language of forms, a daughter becomes a missing person. There's a kind of silence that is loud. It hums in your teeth. The kind that makes the refrigerator sound like a freight train and the clock on the wall like a hammer. Denise moves from room to room because sitting still makes the hum worse. Rome starts loading the trunk, flyers, a box of granola bars, 2 flashlights, a roll of duct tape. Action is the only antidote to the sound. On the other side of the country, a man is seen alone asking for a ride. He offers cash for a few miles. He changes his mind about the destination mid-route and gets out quickly. The timeline is starting to fracture. The messages that didn't sound like her anchor one end. A stranger's account will pin the other. Between them, hours that matter more than anyone knows yet. Before the internet explodes, before strangers start arguing in comment sections about theories and motives, it's just a mother and a handful of details. A wrong nickname, a missing call, a flicker of signal where there should be some, then none at all. If you want to understand how these stories happen, start here. With a feeling that something is off becomes a case number, and a family learns how to push a boulder uphill. 2 days after the wrong-sounding text, a couple driving a dusty 2-lane near the park pulls over for a hitchhiker. He's alone, lean, sunburnt, a backpack slung tight. He offers cash, too much cash, for a short ride. 10 miles, he says, just up to the junction. They glance at each other. It's strange, but not unheard of out here. They unlock the door. He slides in and talks fast. Says he's been camping a few days. Says his fiancée is back at the van working on their social media. He asks about cell service like it's the weather. When they mention heading the other way, toward a town instead of the trailhead, he stiffens. No, not there. Let me out. Right here's fine. They haven't even gone 5 miles. The map tells a story his words don't. Drop a pin where he got in, another where he bailed, and draw the line between. It skirts streams and spurs that feed into backcountry sites, crosses the road that loops toward the campground, where the white van will later be seen, then ends at a shoulder with nothing around it but scrub and the whistle of wind. If you were trying to put distance between yourself and a place, this would be one way to do it. Witnesses remember odd details the way a camera can't. The way he kept checking the rear view. The way his voice climbed a half step when the driver said the wrong town name. The way gratitude fell out of his mouth as he tugged the door handle, like the ride he begged for had suddenly become something he needed to escape. They'll write it down later, with times pulled from a dash clock. They'll feel strange about how normal they made themselves feel in the moment. Dr. Moore will tell you people in crisis manage impressions the way sailors manage sails, trim, tack, present the best angle to the wind they're in, offering too much money for too little distance, volunteering a fiancé back at the van, redirecting a destination. Those aren't proof, they're signs. Signs of urgency, of a story being laid in front of you, so you won't look behind it. Back in Detroit, Denise stares at a calendar. 2 days since the off text. 1 day since the no service line. Now a stranger's timeline slots in with a clean edge. The hours between them shrink like fabric in hot water. She calls the officer who took the report and adds the new piece. The officer's pen scratches. You can hear it even over the phone. A case is a puzzle. Sometimes a single corner piece makes a picture start to appear. What would make a person carrying a pack and a planned panic at the mention of a town? What waits in a town that a forest doesn't have? Cameras, people, records, questions. And what's the difference between a ride toward noise and a ride toward quiet? Noise remembers. Quiet forgets. He chose quiet. By the time the couple posts their account online, careful, measured, just the facts, the comment section splits into camps. Believers, skeptics, people who think you should never pick up a hitchhiker, people who remind everyone that out here, a ride can be the difference between a bad day and a dangerous one. The couple did the thing that felt human. They also did the thing that now feels haunting. The investigators add the hitchhiker sighting to their map. A red line for the stop. A blue line for the texts. A yellow mark for the ride. The colors start to converge on a place where campsites sit under the cottonwoods and a creek runs cold even in heat. Somewhere near there, another couple will scroll through old footage and feel the hair lift on their arms. Before that frame appears, all anyone has is a man in a passenger seat asking to get out before he said he needed to, and a woman who has not called on a day she always does. It's not enough to solve a case. It is enough to know which way to look. Out here, 5 miles can be the difference between finding something and never finding it at all. They don't realize what they've captured until weeks later. Marcus and Janelle are editing a backlog of road footage for their small travel channel, scrubbing through hours of GoPro video that all looks the same. Dust, sky, a ribbon of washboard road. Then, on a narrow stretch near a creek, a white van flickers into the corner of the frame. Florida plates. A familiar ladder. Parked a little off. Nose angle toward the trees. No movement. Janelle freezes the shot and leans in until her breath fogs the screen. Back it up, she says. They roll the clip again, slower. The van sits with curtains drawn in the middle of the day. A distinctive sticker is right where it should be, half peeled on the rear window. The placement is wrong for a lunch stop, wrong for a quick nap. It looks like a vehicle trying not to be noticed and hoping that will be enough. They pull up their phone and search. Missing van. Florida. National Park. The posts hit like a wave. The same shape. The same ladder. The same plate pattern. They now rewind and pause. Rewind and pause. Marcus feels the cold run up his arms. Tell me I'm not seeing this, he says, already knowing he is. They don't waste time. They upload the raw clip to the tip portal and then, at the urging of friends, post the relevant seconds to their channel with the location stripped and the date stamped. Sergeant Torres has a system for tips. Most are noise. This one isn't. The coordinates, even rough, shrink a wilderness into a grid. Teams adjust their search boxes. A map on a wall turns from an ocean of green to overlapping squares of possibility. Ask yourself what happens to your tone when the plan changes. People who love you should feel safer when you arrive, not smaller. Rashida reminds us to widen the lens. Share missing persons posts when the face doesn't look like the ones you're used to seeing on the evening news. Follow and fund organizations that serve Black survivors with culturally competent care. Learn the local resources where you live and where you travel, shelters, hotlines, legal aid. Share them without shame as normal, practical information like you would a weather report. Here's some starting places if you need them now. The National Domestic Violence Hotline, 24/7 by phone or text. Community-based organizations in your city that specialize in Black women's safety and advocacy. Outdoor travel groups that mentor first-time campers on safety planning, not just gear. You'll find links in the description. Share them. Someone in your circle needs them even if they haven't said it. We'll leave you with the flags we walked past in the story. Cut clean, so you can carry them in your pocket. ID jokes that aren't jokes. Isolation disguised as care. A victim apologizing for another person's behavior. Officers focusing on intent instead of evidence. A reporting party never called back. A text that doesn't sound like the person who sent it. A claim of no service that doesn't match the map. A sudden, urgent need to get away from towns and cameras. None of these alone is a verdict. Together, they are a pattern. Amari used to end her videos the same way. Find your light, even out here. Out here includes parking lots and park roads, crowded apartments, and empty campgrounds. Out here includes friendships that keep you honest and systems that keep you safe when your voice shakes. Out here includes all of us, looking a little closer, acting a little sooner, refusing to mistake calm for safety or silence for peace. 2 set out. 1 returned. The truth surfaced because people refused to look away, from a text that rang wrong, from a van parked where it shouldn't be, from a pattern hiding in plain sight. If this story moved you, let it move your hands toward a call, a share, a conversation, a plan. Someone you love is counting on the version of you who won't wait until tomorrow. Grief left the Bennetts with a house full of echoes and a calendar full of court dates, calls, and community meetings. They learned a hard skill most of us hope we'll never need. How to turn a feeling in your bones into a paper trail that systems respect. They learned another hard truth, too, that patterns don't stop by themselves. People stop them. Procedures stop them. Witnesses who don't look away stop them. That's what this story asked of everyone who touched it. If you've stayed with us to this point, you've already done something simple and rare. You listened all the way through. You saw how a wrong-sounding text, a missed callback, and a roadside break added up to a life cut short. You watched a notebook try to soften a reality the autopsy could not. And whether you like it or not, you're in the chain now. The next time a message pings wrong on your phone, the next time you see calm being confused for safe, you'll hear this in your head. That's how responsibility starts. Here's what we owe Amara and anyone who never got to finish their trip. We don't let the flags we walked past in this story slide by us again. We don't let intent erase evidence. We don't let a mother's "this isn't her voice" get filed under "probably busy." We don't accept that whose story gets told depends on whose face fits a headline. We push until training changes, until callbacks are policy, until the question, "does this sound like her?" gets the weight it deserves. Now I'm going to ask you to do 2 things that actually matter here. Not because I want a number on a dashboard, but because the next family that needs this information won't find it if this conversation dies in your history tab. First, subscribe. Not to flatter an algorithm, but to build an audience that platforms take seriously when we say. Cover the cases that don't trend. Teach the checklists that save lives. Follow up when statutes get misread. If you're thinking, "I don't subscribe, I just watch," ask yourself why you're comfortable letting a system decide which stories reach you and which mothers you never hear. If you won't subscribe, at least tell us why in the comments. I read them. Others will too. If there's a better way to keep this work in your feed, say it out loud so someone else can use it. Second, comment with 1 concrete thing you'll do differently because of this. It can be small. Save the hotline. Learn your local dead zones. Practice what details you'd give a dispatcher. Promise a friend you'll believe them the first time they say something feels off. If you can't think of one, tell us which moment in this story hit you hardest and why it wasn't enough to move your hands. That discomfort isn't for shame, it's for change. People scroll past statistics. They pause for honest reckoning. If you're the person who made it here and still feels nothing, no tug at the off text, no anger at a missed photo, no ache at a mother learning the word manual, say that too. Put it in writing. I want you on record with the rest of us when the next case needs witnesses who don't go quiet. And if you're the person who felt everything, don't mistake feeling for doing. Subscribe so you're here when we cover the stories that won't make the evening news. Comment so the next viewer doesn't mistake your silence for indifference. Amara signed off every video the same way. Find your light, even out here. Out here is where you decide what your light is for. Is it just to see? Or is it to be seen? When a stranger needs a ride toward noise, when a friend's message sounds wrong, when a system needs to hear from people who refuse to call this inevitable, this is where you choose. Subscribe if you're done letting an algorithm decide who gets found. Comment with the one action you'll take, or the one reason you won't, because silence is how patterns keep winning, and explanations, even defensive ones, are how we start making them lose.